with salutations. Happy birthday, may your skies stay blue. Happy birthday to you.
Snake, have you ever seen On the Beach?
No, I don't know it.
It's about the survivors of the Third World War. The entire northern hemisphere is obliterated in a nuclear holocaust, and it's only a matter of time before the few survivors left in the southern hemisphere are poisoned by the deadly fallout. Their only hope is an American nuclear submarine that escapes to the southern hemisphere. They set out for the Arctic to investigate the fallout. The movie came out in '59, and the year that the war was supposed to happen was 1964. In other words, this year.
Nice warning. Let's hope it stays just a movie.
Well, here we are again.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
I'm a little dozy, but other than that, I'm alright.
You're a little dozy.
You know, sleepy.
Oh, right. Well, I feel pretty good. Do you know why I feel good?
Why do you feel good?
Because we happen to be recording this on my birthday.
Yes, that's true.
Today is the day we were reminded that I exist. It's rather good. Anyway, enough about that. What are we watching today?
We are watching On the Beach, which I think is an Australian film, or I think it's set in Australia. But the only thing I really know about it is the second Death Stranding game was called Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, so that's sort of like the only clues I've got as to what might happen.
Wow.
And I haven't played Death Stranding 2, I've only played Death Stranding 1, but I assume they deal in similar ideas.
I wonder then if perhaps Hideo Kojima was planning Death Stranding all the way back in the PS3 days. Probably not. I mean, he's a mad guy, but I don't think he's that mad.
Was he born in 1963?
Kojima?
Yeah, was that the year of his birth?
I don't know.
I think it might have been. If it was, then, you know, he'd been planning it before he was born.
I mean, if that's the case, I'm surprised there isn't a scene in Metal Gear Solid 3 where he just comes across a Japanese baby, Snake I mean, and he goes, "You're gonna grow up to be something special, kid."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh."
And then he's like crying. It's like, what's wrong? And so he pats him on the back and he burps and he goes, "That was perfect. Mission successful. Way to go, boss."
Yeah. But yeah, I don't actually know much about this film. Well, I don't know anything apart from its title. I mean, beaches, when I think of beaches in films, often there'd be a romantic scene. But being as it's on the list of Hideo Kojima films, I'm thinking something messed up is going to happen on this beach. Like, it might start off as a romantic scene, and then something come from the water and just eat everyone.
Do you know much about Death Stranding?
I've seen a few clips, like I've seen when he's like making out with this tentacle guy. And that might be from the second game.
Yeah, it might be. But the idea, well, I've watched a few videos on it, because I sort of had my own ideas of what it was about, but one of the things that I didn't sort of make the connection is the idea that the beach is the boundary between the land and the sea, so that the beach sort of symbolises a boundary between two worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, it's its own world in that sense, or it's just a boundary?
I think it's its own world, but it is a boundary between that and, like, you know, the ether or whatever you want to call it.
So, given that, what do you think this film could be about? Do you think it's going to be an abstract film, or do you think it's going to actually take place on a beach?
I could see it being abstract, you know. I really don't. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a beach in it, but like you say, maybe it is just an illusion, and the beach, you know, it's not literally set on a beach. It could just be an idea. But yeah, I really
Maybe it's a typo.
What?
Maybe it's a typo. Maybe it was meant to say bitch.
On the bitch?
On the bitch, and we're about to watch a porno.
Oh, no. Well, that would explain a lot about Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how he actually prefers sandy vaginas.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
I think we just need to watch it now, because otherwise our imaginations are going to run wild.
Yeah,
Who knows
we'll
what
end
we'll
up just
think.
writing our own film,
Yeah.
our own porno.
You're the one I wanted to say.
Let's watch it, yeah.
Do you feel like that film we just watched could almost be a sequel to the last one we just watched?
Forbidden Planet.
Oh, is that what it was?
That was the last one we watched.
Oh,
yeah.
no, okay, no, not that one. I mean,
The Last War.
The Last War, yeah.
Yes, I was thinking that the whole time. I was thinking if they had in fact implied that Australia wasn't hit by a bomb,
Yeah.
and it was the last standing place where humanity was residing, then yeah, it does seem like this could be a continuation of it.
And in many ways, I think this is the film I was expecting to see with The Last War, where it's way more focused on the fallout and the coping of the individuals with the situation. Because when it opens up, it's got quite, it's a cold open, guys on a submarine, comes up, American flag, it's quite upbeat music, very sort of like proud and heroic. And then there's just a little line where someone on the radio mentions that Australia is the last stronghold after a nuclear war. And it goes by so quick. I was almost like, did I hear that right? Because for a lot of the film, especially early on, it almost seems like things are normal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I almost missed it as well. Like, I did hear that transmission, and yeah, anybody who was watching it back in those days, if they just skipped that, they wouldn't understand all the horrible stuff that had happened towards the end of the movie. That would come as a huge surprise.
Because people are just sort of like trying to carry on, as best they can, and everyone's dealing with it in different ways. Some people are finding new hobbies and fixations, other people are, almost trying to pretend that it's not happening, even though they know it's coming. There's that guy at the party, he was the first big crack, just like, starts going on about the air and how the air is like already radioactive and we're already breathing in death, and there's just this big lingering sense that we're all, running on borrowed time.
Thinking on that though, and with how the movie ends, I can't help but feel, what if they made a sequel? And you think, well, how could they possibly make a sequel? And it's all about that one fella in San Francisco. Because when they went to visit all these places to check the radiation levels and whether or not people are still alive and all that,
Yeah.
there wasn't much destruction, say, compared to the Last War.
Yeah, that was quite notable, wasn't it? They even mentioned that.
When you first saw the Golden Gate Bridge, I thought, that's in pretty good condition.
But it was more sort of the fact, I think, because it's like New York, or, that scene in 28 Days Later, where he's just going through London and no one's there. So I think it was a sort of similar thing to that. It's like things look normal, there's just no one around, and these would normally be very bustling cities.
Yeah. But he also made reference to the fact that he was finding bodies.
Yeah.
He found the bodies of, I think he said his parents.
Yeah, and after that he stopped looking.
Yeah.
But you were thinking it'd just be sort of like Last Men on Earth, just him in San Francisco.
Yeah. Could be an episode of Twilight Zone or something like that.
I was thinking maybe it could be horse people, because there's a bit towards the end where a horse stands on a log, and I was like, oh my god, they're already mutating.
Yeah. But no, the reality of it is that all life
Is dying.
is dying.
I mean, I guess there's the deep sea stuff which won't be affected.
Well, if evolution has anything to go on with how that works, eventually those deep sea creatures will make their way back up, and then life will begin again. Maybe this has already happened.
Yeah, maybe.
We were once the slime on the bottom of the ocean.
There'll be a bunch of squids running about on land.
Speaking of creatures, one thing I noticed at the beginning of the film, when the submarine was first rising, was the number on the side of it.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that.
623 was the number.
Yes.
I didn't feel it had much significance, but it was close to 626, and I just thought to myself, was there a 623 experiment? And I've looked it up, and there is indeed a 623 experiment.
Yeah?
Nicknamed Trainer.
Huh.
He's an instructor, like a training instructor,
Yeah.
and he helps the people of Hawaii get in shape, looking their best. All the bikini babes, that's all he's doing. And, yeah.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the first place I went to. I mean, I was a little, obviously there's this sense of, like, a glossy, sort of happy-go-lucky surface where people are sort of, coping. And then, like, the ugliness underneath that sort of bubbles up to the surface. And it does a lot of whiplash sort of cuts, doesn't it? Where, like, it'll be dreamy, sort of ethereal music 1 second, and then immediately it will sort of cut to, a big explosion or like big bombastic doom music. Like at the very end of a film, when I was thinking it's finally winding down, it does it again. It's like sad, somber, then bah!
Yeah, it's. I think those musical cues are there to hit the viewer hard.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's like a sucker punch.
There may be you might find some beauty in this, desolate land now that it's calm and peaceful. But remember, this is all you're doing. This is humanity's problem. You royally fucked us.
There's a lot being unsaid. I mean, there's a lot of it is implied and then said and then discussed and then unsaid and stuff like that. There were a couple bits I wasn't too sure about, like when the calendar showed 1964, I guess because this movie came out in the late 50s, that would just be implying this isn't too far in the future. So that's what that was about. But there's a bit on the beach where he says something about her being such a liar, and I don't know if I wasn't paying attention to the conversation enough, but everyone sort of sinks after that, and I wasn't quite sure what that was. I might have to look back at that.
Sinks at what?
They're at the beach, and they're like wrestling, and she's like, "Oh, you don't wrestle me." And then he says something like, "You know what? She is such a liar. And then like something dawns on everyone, and they all just sort of awkwardly shuffle about.
Yeah, I actually was not looking at the screen at that point. I saw Dwight, the commander fella, looking like that, and I thought for him personally, it was him realizing he's having fun with this woman, much like he would with his wife if she was still alive.
By spanking her on the bottom with a paddle.
Yeah, that guy he had quite the ass fixation, I must say, because, he was grabbing her ass when they capsized on the boat, and he spanked her ass with a paddle. And then he just spanked the other guy's ass when he went out to investigate, was it San Francisco? Well, that wasn't San Francisco, was it? I don't remember what the second place he went to was.
No, I don't know if he ever specified.
Yeah, I wonder if, because there was a lot of Coca-Cola propaganda in that film.
I only noticed it towards the very end, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. Like, it could just be product placement, but then also, is it like, because there's sort of this cruel joke of, like, the one radio signal they're getting, it's this farcical, like, you never would have guessed it, basically, the Morse code receiver, there's a bottle that's fallen on top of it, but there's a binder handle that's sort of caught underneath, and it's pulling it in the wind. So it's just sort of like transmitting gibberish.
Yeah.
So is there something to that, like the idea that industry is sort of fucked us as well?
I think what it's trying to say is drink Coca-Cola and this won't happen.
Okay. What do you think? Do you think there's any significant to hot? It's like part of the sign was on.
Whoa, there's the heat of the radiation. I suppose you could, pair it with that. I mean, we don't. It's not. It wasn't clear to me anyway how long after the fact this takes place. Like the bombs, they blew up. How long after that?
I think it was quite recent because they mentioned they couldn't go above ground they couldn't surface near San Francisco because it was too hot.
Yeah. So
they had to go to Australia. So I just assume it was however long it takes a submarine to go to Australia.
All right, that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just to deter from all the morbid stuff we've been talking about, I did find a couple of comical things in the film.
Yeah.
There was this one point when they were on the... I think they were on a submarine at this point, maybe not. But this fella came up to Dwight, and he says, "We got a long way to go, fella. Perhaps you can amuse yourself in some way to pass the time." And then he walks off, and Dwight, just is looking around like, what does he mean like that? Does he mean jack off? I guess I could jack off. Yeah, you know what? That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go jack off. I honestly thought that she was gonna go with him at the end.
I thought so too, but
because why the hell wouldn't you?
I suppose, like I say, they're sort of like zoning in on the little bit of control and order they have, and there wouldn't be a situation in the working world where he would take an untrained woman with him on the submarine, and she probably wouldn't leave the farm, so it's sort of like upholding the little amount of their past life that they can.
Yeah. The ending of the film was pretty similar to the last war. The last remnants of humanity were on a submarine, and you just don't know what becomes of them.
Well, presumably they go back to their homelands, fart about on the surface for about a week, and then die. If they didn't die on the way. Because they were already getting sick, and everyone else is just taking the quick way out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's got to be probably the most morbid bit of the film is when Mary and the other fellow, what's his name, Peter? That's his name, yeah, Mary and Peter.
Oh my god,
You didn't hear, what?
Mary and Peter. I didn't make that connection before.
Who are they?
Peter Parker and Mary Jane.
Oh, right. But yeah, just the fact that they were discussing having tea, which I anticipated, like, you know, that was a good parallel, actually. The beginning of the film was him, like, asking, tea dear.
Yeah.
And then I thought he was going to say it again at the end. He was like, tea dear. And he's like, okay, this time I will have the tea. But the whole fact that they were referring to Jennifer, and it's at that point where most viewers are probably figuring out that the baby isn't crying anymore.
Yeah.
It's already been dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Messed up.
There was one bit in the film where, like, they come back from their unsuccessful mission. Well, it was successful, but they didn't find anything. And they run into the arms of everyone they love. And you say Swain, it's like, is he going to make out with his car? And then at the end, he does do the whole, like, garage suffocation thing, doesn't he? And he's just smiling in his car.
Oh yeah, that was a little bit goofy.
I guess
It was like bad. But
Yeah.
it was I don't know, just his face at the end, which is like, yeah, this is definitely the best course of action.
It sort of fit to me because when he's on the submarine and he's talking with Peter, and Peter's like basically trauma dumping. You know, a lot of people, like everyone in this is so traumatized, and they're just trying to pretend like they're not. It reminded me a little bit of like Evangelion, but he's talking to him, just unloading everything he's going through and how he had to have a difficult conversation, and he sort of ends it with, well, first he says, like, at least you got someone to worry about. I haven't got someone to worry about. You know, he's got his cars and that's it. And he's like, I wish you wouldn't go on and on. Like, sometimes I don't know why I bother with you or why I even like you. And it's just sort of like this gallows humor of being mean to him. And then afterwards, he just sort of goes up and says thanks. So he just seems like the type of guy who would embrace the absurdity of it, because at the end, she's like, oh, why is he driving so fast? You know, he's going to hurt himself. And it's like, well, it's important to him. And this is just like the one thing he's found solace in.
It's funny actually when you mention how important the car is to him and all that, because when they first got back from their mission in San Francisco, they went back to their lovers and they were all like embracing each other and kissing and that. Well, you saw Peter do it. He goes up to Mary, kisses her. Then Dwight comes along, kisses Moira, and then it cuts to the fella in his car. And I was like, oh god, he's gonna be making out with his car now, isn't he? This is just how the film ends. But no, there was still plenty of film left. I kind of wish it ended there in some ways.
Well, I guess that would have been too easy for us. Like if it just ended and we didn't see him go through the final stage of it. It's kind of like it's making us see the whole thing. Bit of a stray note here. Transistors. It seemed like around this time, everything was transistors. It was like either, you know, like how for a while it was radiation, and then it was like genetic stuff, and like there's always like sort of the go-to, oh, this is the science thing that does everything. And for a while it was transistors, and I'm not even really sure what a transistor is.
Well, a transistor is just it's a component in a circuit board that regulates current flow and such. So it's easy to say transistor in any engineering jargon, because it's usually going to be relevant.
I guess so. It was quite, I mean, it had pretty interesting shots, didn't it? Like, I didn't notice as much towards the end. It seemed a bit more candid, but like early on, when Dwight's talking to Moira, we're on the porch, and there's this very sort of smooth transition to a Dutch angle. It shows that there's a bit of a divide between them, because there's like a wooden pillar going between them, and she's on one side sort of letting loose a little because she's drunk, and she's just sort of, it's less veiled what she's going through. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And another shot that really stuck out to me is when they're on the elevator and they sort of go up, and then it sort of reveals, because it's very dark, they're in the shaft and it's just black, and when they come up on the surface, and it reminded me a little bit of Mother Base. Obviously a lot of this stuff is just standard military stuff, and a submarine is a submarine, but throughout the whole thing I was thinking, oh, Outer Haven and oh, Mother Base. And I think even those type of cars they race at the ends, I think he puts one of those in Death Stranding 2.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, I hate those cars. I think they look so stupid.
Or even Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Well, that's alright. I just hate the ones that are like so curvaceous at the bottom. That came out really weird. But you know what I mean? They look like they look so easy to capsize. Yeah. And they were so easy to capsize. During the race scene, we saw so many of them just completely crash and burn.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
And all those people died, and I was like, okay, well,
yeah, they were going to die anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
But Yeah, there's also that boat race earlier. There's quite a bit of racing. I mean, I guess that's again avoidance, isn't it? Like there's a lot of avoidance, a lot of escapism, stuff like that.
But throughout the whole film, I was thinking, who is this tailored to? This film, and I think I've boiled it down to it is a bit of a man's film because most of the main characters are like men and then like chasing after a woman or they're trying to lead the ideal life, nuclear family, you might say.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'd say people who are interested in nuclear war as a topic.
Well, I mean, I assume it was just sort of like a cautionary tale, like this is what could happen, this is everything we'd go through. I mean, the one thing I will say, for all things considered, it was quite an optimistic nuclear fallout movie. Because, not optimistic, like, say in Fallout, there's a bit more viability to life, isn't there? Whereas in this, it's like, it's just a matter of time, that the radiation's coming, we don't know when. And even when it does come, we don't know who's going to go first or anything. But I suppose the optimistic thing, there's one scene, like when they have the periscope, and they're looking at San Francisco, and there's no one around, and they think, is it like dogs who sort of go away and die? Is that what everyone's done? And there's sort of a sense of, in the end times, when everyone knows they're doomed, you might as well be good. Like, there's no reason to be selfish or to be scared or worried or anything. If you know doom is coming, you'll sort of be your most affable, friendly self, which everyone is in the film. It doesn't sort of explore the idea that someone might go apeshit. Because there's a lot of films where it's like, oh, if it's the end of the world, people just go wild, do whatever they want, they'll kill, destroy. Whereas in this, it's very much more focuses on the idea that people just sort of take it with grace.
It's funny you mentioned that, actually, because I was thinking, like, if, going back to, like, a potential sequel, I think what's more likely, in a more Fallout sort of situation, Mad Max, which takes place in Australia.
Yeah.
That's a lot more viable than, well, the sequel taking place in San Francisco, just following that one guy. Now, and, radiation is a thing in those films.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that, I don't know, because I think Mad Max takes place, like, deeper within Australia, because right now there's the four provinces, and they're all on the outskirts of the landmass.
Yeah, the livable areas.
Yeah, because the inside is not livable. But once you get to a nuclear apocalyptic sort of scenario, nowhere's really livable. So they end up going there because it might even be further away from radiation. So that's the only choice you have. Which, that's an interesting thing. That's what interested me about the fact that it took place in Australia. Because it also reminded me of Mad Max.
Well, here's the thing, in Mad Max, because that's quite fable-like, I'm not even really sure, like, were there nukes in Mad Max, or was it just the idea that, it was gas that destroyed the world?
I think in the third film, he was in that village with just children, and he was looking at all the murals they showed of what their idea of what became of the world before to make it what it is now, and he knew what happened. I think he did say that there were bombs that had fallen. I might be remembering that incorrectly. I've only seen the third film maybe once.
I think I've only seen bits of the third one. But another thing in the San Francisco sequence where, like, that one guy, I can't remember who it was, he swims off and just decides he'd rather die in his home quickly than die slowly in Australia. And I thought it was almost kind of alien-like when he's on the boat fishing and the periscope pops up next to him and they're just having quite a frank conversation. And this again gets into the kindness thing, like, there's no sort of, like, a lot of the times you'll have things like the governor. I don't really know The Walking Dead, but, like, the governor's like this hard line. We've got to do what it takes to survive. Whereas in this guy breaks ranks, and he's quite apologetic about it. He's just sort of like, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean any disrespect, but, I'd just rather die here if that's all the same with you. And he's like, oh yeah, no, that's fine, I get it. Is there anything we can do for you? And everyone's very kind, aren't they? But there's just something about him talking to a periscope, just popping out the water. It's almost like a sci-fi thing for a bit.
Speaking of Dwight, do you think Commander Dwight looked anything like Spotswood from Team America? Kind of spoke like him too.
I guess now that you say it, yeah, because he's got that chin indent, hasn't he?
Yeah, and his like hairdo, and it sort of looks familiar as well.
His brow, maybe.
Hey, this is a nice submarine. Yes, it is. Now suck my cock.
Oh, I'm surprised I didn't mention this earlier. The guy with the crooked painting. I was wondering if that was meant to be someone earlier, wasn't I? And now I'm just wondering, is that again just like sort of a cope thing. Like towards the end, he doesn't even bother straightening it. And you might argue, like, what was the point of straightening it in the first place? Does it really matter? But it mattered to him at the time. And I think he pops off one pull shot before the electricity goes out. And do you think... Because he pots for black. So do you think that was a good ending for him? Or do you think it was like, man, I only took one shot and already the lights have gone out?
That might very well be the saddest ending. Because, I don't actually mean that. There's definitely worse endings in the film. But when I think about him, I think about how his job is, he's like a servant, isn't he? He's a waiter.
Yeah.
He's just answering to people all day long, and he seems to be all right with it. And the one chance, when everyone else has gone home and waiting for death or to kill themselves, he's there. He's all alone. Think this is his chance. He makes one shot, and it just goes off. And I don't know. That's just so sad to me because I like pool. Maybe it's just because I like pool, but. He takes that one shot, and then the electric goes up, and he's just all like, "Oh, bother." It's such it's almost comical, but it is very sad.
Yeah, I guess that's the film all over, isn't it? It's like when they find what's causing the transmission, they just sort of laugh, don't they? It's like, well, it's just so. I think there's even a line at some point in it where it's like, oh, do you think that's funny? It's like, well, considering everything, yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
There's a couple of stray things I got here. When he what did you think to the scene where they're on the boat discussing the cause of the war, and Swain admits that he was one of the people who worked on the bombs, and how he thinks the entire premise of nuclear deterrence was a farce, just the idea that we could get these weapons that we can't use and that it wouldn't horribly backfire in our faces. I suppose, obviously once someone has one, everyone needs to have one as a deterrent. That's the idea, and he's like, oh, just one mistake. Because there have been close calls in the past. And just the idea that, someone sees a blip, someone hesitates, they know they got an eighth of a second or whatever. And this reminded me of the last war as well, where everyone sat around. It's like, I might write a history of a war. It's like, I'd like to read it. I was in it and I didn't know a thing about it. What do you reckon to sort of that whole situation?
What? If I was that person seeing the blip?
Well, no, just that they're in there. Because they don't seem to be... They could be mad at him. Again, this is the optimistic thing. They're not mad at him. They know he's just as messed up about it as they are. But, they don't sort of fixate on him as like, hey, he's the cause of this.
Oh, I see what you mean. I think by that point, people were losing the strength or the will to really do anything because they know that it'll be for nothing. You won't have enough time to think, that was a good decision or that was a bad decision I made. So you might as well just not do anything. I mean, people were just doing stuff because, that's probably the best thing you can do in that situation. Just keep yourself busy until the end.
Yeah. I mean, remember the bit with the noose? That had to be on purpose, right?
I guess so, but that wasn't a noose.
No, it wasn't a noose. It was like a bit of wiring or something, and just because of the framing, it looked like a noose. But you weren't sure until you saw it next to a person.
Yeah. But then again, why would a noose, if it was used, it would still have something attached to it, really,
yeah.
Wouldn't it?
The beach thing. In Death Stranding, I think the reason it's meant to symbolise not only the barrier between land and sea and life and death, but also they have fun on the beach, they have a good time, but when things die in the ocean, they end up on the beach, they end up taken out of the waves, so it's sort of this juxtaposition of life and death all on one strip of land. I mean, what do you think? Why do you think it's called On the Beach? Because it's ironic, if you think, oh, we're at the beach, we're having a good time.
Well, I think what you've said is it is what I think, but I was also thinking that with the beach being all sandy and how your foothold isn't as strong, that could be a parallel to sort of...
You're saying sand it's not stable.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what these people, they're standing on this foundation that's it could give way any second, and that's sort of how they're living at the minute. Any second the radiation could come in and just ruin the good time that they're having. You could be on the beach and you could be having a nice time chasing each other around, playing tag or whatever, and then all of a sudden you lose your foot and then you've sprained your ankle and, you're not having a good time anymore. That's a really kiddie way of looking at it, but that's the only other thing I can really offer to what you've already said.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could be part of it, yeah. The last thing, this is a hard movie to talk about because there's so many, when I was watching it, I was just writing down so many things about the performances and lines that I liked, and I just thought it was all very effective and very well done. I guess I want to try and end on a... It's not in the spirit of the film, but I'm going to end on an upbeat note. I thought it was pretty funny when... Because he initially didn't want to have a relationship with Moira because it would almost be like admitting that his family was gone. And that was a really great scene because it's like he couldn't... I don't know if it's just like actors wouldn't cry back then because men don't cry, or if it was a choice that he didn't, like he physically, because it looked like he was about to cry and he just didn't. He couldn't get it out, and he...
Well, it looked like he was going to do a number of things. He looked like he was going to scream out loud. You know, he just didn't know what emotion to pick.
Yeah.
And so it just was a matter of fact in the end.
And it's like he didn't want to hurt her, but he just wanted her to understand where he was and why he was doing. Because she, basically says, "Do you want to have a go at it?" And he just says no, and then he chases after her to explain because it's like, well, that would be too cruel. But when they do finally get back together on the farm, he says, "Is that offer still up to spread a little fertilizer?"
Oh.
And then after that, she's like, "Do you want to stay?" He's like, "Oh, if you got room for me." So, even in the end, we managed to get a little innuendo in there.
Yeah. Well, you've got to.
Yeah. Did you have any... the banner at the end that it says, "There is still time, ... brother"? Do you have any idea if that was alluding to anything? Because it's quite a specific phrase, isn't it?
I imagine it's probably an excerpt from the Bible.
Yeah, because they were sort of going quite religious towards the end, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's like one of those... because I was thinking of the process of grief. One of them is bargaining, and it was the idea of bargaining with God. Although I guess at that point they were more accepting, weren't they? But towards the end, they focus on that guy again, I think, doing the speech. And it's cropped, so all you can see is time, ... And it's, just sort of emphasizing the idea that their time is limited.
Yeah. I did notice that as well, but I wasn't quite sure what just saying time really meant. Time to die?
It could be that.
Time is at an end?
I mean, it's quite an evocative word, isn't it?
Yeah. Or it could be a Hulk Hogan reference. There's still time, brother.
Maybe it was. Maybe he was going to jump in at the end and save the day.
Yeah.
He's going to punch people in the gut. They'd cough up all the radiation and all the pills they'd taken. He's going to burp the baby. And it'd just be Hulkmania. Nah. Yeah, no, it's a terrible business, isn't it?
Sure is.
And I'm glad we no longer live with the threat of nuclear war looming over us.
Oh, why'd you have to say that?
Gallows humor?
Gallows humor?
Never heard of it?
No, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Gallows! It's sort of an inverted L shape. It's gallows, right? It's gallows. Say it's gallows. I can take it.
All right, it's gallows.
Oh, the gallows hangers!
All right. Well, what are we watching next? Let's have a look.
That's what I want to know.
Hopefully it's a little bit brighter, a little nicer. The War of the Worlds is the next film we're watching. It is an old story that was based on a radio play, inspired by that same great horse and excellence. It's fermented in a bottle, and like the finest wines...
Are you feeling alright? You're not drunk, are you?
I'm fine. Are you looking forward to War of the Worlds?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're staying on theme. See you next time.
Bye-bye.